Hi friends, welcome to Carrie's Culinary Crafts where we talk all things food. And today I have a couple things in store for you. As you see, I have some red onions here on the cutting board. My onions were starting to look a little old, that I needed to get them used up. So I wanted to go ahead and use all that I had today. And a perfect way to do that is to do some pickled red onions, which is one of my favorite summertime staples to have. And then I'm also going to make a salad after I put together the pickled onions. So I have showed pickled onions on my channel before, so I'll just go over this really quick. I am doing 3 onions, so I'm doubling the recipe that I have. And I needed 1.5 cups of boiling water. And to that, I'm going to add a little bit of sweetener. You can use whatever type of sweetener you like. It could be honey, it could be granulated sugar, it could be raw sugar, it could, whatever type of sugar you like. And today I'm going to go ahead and just add some raw sugar. And I'll need a 1/2 cup. And here I'm just adding some minced garlic in there. I remembered that I had that in the fridge, so I wanted to go ahead and put some of that in there because garlic and onions go wonderful together. So, and there is the 1.5 cups of vinegar. Now you need that boiling water if you are using, like a sugar, so it can dissolve. So in here I'm adding just a little spoonful of red pepper flakes. It was maybe 1/4 teaspoon. Just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a spice. And so I'm going to stir that around and make sure that it gets nice, good, and dissolved. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut up my onions. Now, I like to cut my onions, I like to leave them in pretty long strips. So I kind of do like the half moon, and I will cut them as thin as I possibly can. I love the real thin cut onions. So here I'm just peeling off, and I'm not saving these skins or the ends because, like I said, they were looking a little worse for wear. So I wasn't going to save them and stick them in the freezer because there was one that even had a bad spot on it. So I didn't want to take any chance with contaminating my good broth, my bone broth, whenever I make it. So I didn't save these ends and skins. So here I'm just going ahead and just chopping everything really fine. Look at me go. Woohoo! Didn't know I could move that fast, did you? So yeah, I'm just cutting these as thin as I can and adding them to that brine. Now remember, it's just a 50% water to 50% white vinegar, and then I added a 1/2 cup of, was it a 1/2 cup or was it 1/4 cup? Oh, I doubled it, so 1/2 cup. 1/2 cup of raw sugar and some red pepper flakes. Now these onions were pretty strong. That's why I just kind of put the towel over it just to kind of stop the fumes from getting up, and I'm getting rid of all of these onion peels in the sink because they were some strong onions. Okay, so now I'm getting some containers to go ahead and put my onions in. I have two of these. They're like a flip top lid that has a airtight seal. I always use those for onions. And then I got a mason jar, a pint mason jar. And then I think I'm going to need another half pint jar after this because I did make quite a bit. And the first thing I'm doing is just going ahead and packing the onions in. I'm not doing it like super tight, but you want to try and get as much as you can in there because remember this brine is warm, so the onions are going to shrink a little bit. They're not going to cook. They're still going to be nice and crunchy, but they will shrink down a little bit. So I am going to um, definitely uh, push them in there pretty tight. And then after I get all the jars filled, then I will go ahead and um, put the brine in until it covers the onions. Because you definitely want them, the onions to be covered. They will last a whole lot longer in your refrigerator if they are covered. Those airtight seal ones are the optimum ones to use because that lid, it actually pushes the onions down underneath, so it kind of keeps them submerged, and that's kind of the idea that you want. So when you take onions out, make sure you leave that brine in there because the more you take out, then the onions sink down to the bottom and they will constantly be covered, and they will last in your refrigerator for a very long time. um, some places say 3 months, some places say 6 months. They never last that long for me. Um, so, I mean, a pint jar I probably would go through in a month. Half pint, it would probably be 2 weeks. So I pretty much use them on everything or even as a little side to something. I absolutely love pickled red onions. Now I am just going to leave them on the counter until they completely cool down before I stick them in the refrigerator. And once you stick them in the refrigerator, remember they'll last at least 3 months in the refrigerator. And the longer that they sit, the more pickled that they will be. Like you certainly can eat them now. They'll be a little more vinegary, um, more than anything, but the longer that they sit, the more that brine will really permeate those onions. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get started on dinner. Tonight I'm going to make some type of mozzarella salad. I have these small pearl mozzarella balls, and I want to use that last red onion, and I have some cucumbers in there. Now normally I would make a Greek salad whenever I'm using the cucumbers, but this mozzarella that I had in my fridge has been there for a while, so I want to go ahead and get this used up first. So I'm just going to slice up some cucumbers, put them in the bowl, and then I'm going to slice up the onion, and then I will add in the little mozzarella balls. Oh, and here I have some tomatoes. They are some organic grape tomatoes. They're like one of those medley package, so they're like all different colors. I cannot wait till my tomatoes come in, and I'm hoping that this week when I go to the farmer's market that they have some tomatoes there. Will be really, really nice, because I really don't buy tomatoes from the store except for very once in a while. And this was one of those occasions because I wanted to use up this mozzarella cheese, and my tomatoes in my garden are not quite ready yet. So here I'm just slicing up the onions, doing the same as what I did whenever I pickled them. Half moon, slice them really thin, and then get them in the bowl with those cucumbers. And then I will open up these 2 packages of fresh mozzarella balls. And my hands are all wet and I can't open it, so, have to resort to the knife. And I normally don't buy these pearls, but they were on sale, like really cheap, like $4.99 a package. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm just gonna get them, because I'll usually buy the whole log and then slice it up myself. That's the way I prefer to buy fresh mozzarella. But like I said, these were on sale, so I went ahead and bought 2 packages. And I'm using my favorite Greek dressing. I would not recommend using Greek with the mozzarella. I definitely think Italian dressing tastes much better. But it was time for dinner, and I didn't have time. I totally forgot about making the Italian dressing earlier. So I just reached in to see what bottle I had, and it was it was a Greek, so that's what we're going with. But it definitely goes much better with feta. I prefer Italian dressing or like some type of vinaigrette with fresh mozzarella instead of the Greek dressing. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this a good stir, and then I'm going to add the lid and stick it in the refrigerator until I am done with the rest of dinner. Okay, now I have all this brine left, so and I didn't want to waste that. So what I figured I'd do is just go ahead and chop up the rest of these cucumbers that I have. And there's a few onions that are still left in there, so I'm just going to chop these up and then let them soak in that brine for the rest of the evening. And then tonight I'll go ahead and put it into a container with just a little bit of that liquid to cover them. And so I'll have some uh, pickled cucumbers as well. Always find something to do with extra food. Waste nothing if at all possible. Okay, and we'll give that a little stir, and then I'm just going to let that on my counter until this evening, and then I will move the cucumbers into another container and then just cover it with the liquid and put it in the refrigerator. And then I'll just make sure that I eat that over the next day or two. It'll be a good salad for lunch or something. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get started on the rest of dinner. And here I have 2 pounds of my butcher box meat. It's organic, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. It's my favorite kind. You guys have seen some butcher box hauls that I've done. So I have 2 pounds here. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in my large skillet, and I'm going to get this browned up. And I'm going to make some sloppy joes. I have some leftover buns that I had in the refrigerator just to keep them from, getting moldy. And here I'm trying to show you the can. This was a homemade sloppy joe mix that I made. I think it was in 2020 or 2021, one of those two. But I made my own sloppy joe mix instead of like buying the canned manwich, and those are good in a pinch and everything. But one time I just wanted to just make it on my own, and I roasted all of the peppers and the onions and everything that went into it in the oven on a giant sheet pan. And I went ahead and made my own sloppy joe sauce, and it's definitely a winner. It's really, really good. I enjoy it very much. So when I run out, I'm going to definitely make more. I think I have like 3 more on my shelf. And I, my family does not like sloppy joes super, super, like soupy. So if you use just like 1 pound of this meat and then like 1 can of that manwich, it was always way too soupy, um, and very, very messy and would make the buns fall apart and everything. So what I learned to do is I just do 2 pounds of meat for 1 pint of um, sloppy my sloppy joe sauce. And it feeds my family of 4, plus there's plenty of leftover for lunch the next day. Now, since my son was home from college, so I was feeding 4 of us, plus we were having the salad. Um, so it was plenty of food, and there's at least 3 sandwiches worth left over, probably even 4. But I just got my handy dandy meat masher out here. Gonna brown up this meat, and then once it is browned, I am going to season it a little bit with salt and pepper and some Italian seasoning mix, and then I'm just going to dump my sloppy Joe mix in with the meat. And then I'm just going to let that um, simmer for a good 15 minutes or so. And then I will turn off the heat and I will put cheese. I'm going to put some provolone cheese on it. You don't have to do cheese. Everyone in my family likes their sloppy joes with cheese. So I have some smoked provolone, so I'm going to go ahead and put some smoked provolone on it. This was just a chili lime seasoning that I have on the side of my stove there. I just use it every once in a while just to, add a little extra spice. And if you need to, before you add in your sloppy Joe mix, you definitely want to drain whatever fat is in your pan first, because that's another thing that will make your sloppy Joe like really soupy, and we don't like that. So I will definitely, um, I just dump all of my meat into a strainer and just let it strain, and then I'll put it back on the stove. Then I'll add my sauce to it, bring it up to a simmer, let it simmer for a few minutes, put my cheese on it, turn off the stove, put the lid on it, and it's ready to go whenever everyone else is ready for dinner. All right, and I found this ad I wanted to show you guys. It's the Aldi ad. Look at this. $3.99 a pound for organic grass-fed beef. I just got that today in the mail, and I'm definitely going to go hit up Aldi because that is a great price for organic grass-fed ground beef. I'm going to go and stock up. Okay, now here I'm going to go ahead and grab my metal strainer, and this is just the easiest way to get rid of all the grease. I just dump the meat into the strainer and then put the meat right back in the pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my sloppy Joe sauce, and I'm going to give this a good mix to incorporate it. And then I'm just going to let it simmer for about 10-15 minutes. When that's done, I'll add the provolone cheese and put the lid on it, turn off the stove, and just let it melt. And then it can just sit there on the burner until we are ready to eat. And I will show you a finished plate right after this. And tell me, have you hit that thumbs up button yet? How about, have you subscribed? What are you waiting for? Please hit that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next one, friends. Bye.